on the road again. We can't wait to get on the road again. Telling stories to our family and our friends. We can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again. We can't wait to get on the road again. Telling stories to our friends. We can't wait to get on the road again.
Welcome to our monthly AAA podcast, Affinity, Ali and Annette on the road to good storytelling, with your hosts, Ali and moi.
Hi, I'm Allie Spooner, and I'd like to welcome you today. I also write with Affinity, quite a few books out, and work in a variety of different genres, from paranormal to FBI agents to country music singers. So I touch on a variety of different genres and have a few series out there. We hope you enjoy our podcast, and we give you an opportunity to meet somebody that may be a new author to you, or get to know a little bit more about the authors that you've been reading. So we appreciate your support and invite you to visit Affinity Rainbow Publications to check out our books.
And I'm Annette. I'm also with Affinity Rainbow Publications. I just posted, I had this thing that how it pops up on Facebook that you're like, hey, remember when 10 years ago my debut novel came out? And so I reposted that. And so, gosh, I can't believe I've been writing for 10 years now. And I did finally count up because I never could remember how many books I have out. And so now I know 37 books. So
Wow.
there we go, 37. And I guess my 38th will come out later this year. Anyway, that's a little bit about me.
All right. So each month we invite a special guest or guests to join us as we discuss various topics of interest to writers and readers. We'll invite our guests to do a short reading and then follow with questions on the featured topic, while encouraging them to do at least one giveaway to our audience.
And this month, I'm so excited, we'll be talking about Sapphic fiction / romance prominently featuring animals or our pets and hot veterinarians with our special guest, Lila Bruce, who wrote the iconic classic that let us see through the eyes of dogs. And I can't even say enough good things about Love Bites. It's one of my all-time favorite books. And I've said this to her before, but I genuinely mean it.
Yeah. And then following our podcast, we'll upload to a newly created YouTube channel, and hope you consider subscribing so you never miss a future podcast. And that's really good about putting them out and putting them short and long links on Facebook. So I hope you'll take advantage of clicking on those links and having some fun with us.
Yeah. So I have the absolute honor and privilege of introducing Lila. Lila Bruce has been putting stories to paper since middle school, but officially became a published author in 2014. Since then, she has been a Lambda Literary Award finalist, a GCLS finalist, and the winner of 2 Rainbow Awards. She currently lives in North Georgia with her wife and at the last count, 9 cats. Beats me. The peril that awaits when 2 lesbians join households. When not writing, Lila spends her time reading, minding her feline herd, and drinking dangerous amounts of coffee.
Oh, I gotta love the coffee.
Yep.
All right. So without further ado, Lila, if you're ready, take it away.
All right. Well, thanks, Annette and Hallie. I'm going to read from Love Bites. If you can see it, it's kind of a blur here. It's going to be the first part of the chapter where we meet all 3 of the characters, and we'll start in Moose the dog's POV to make it fun. I'd been at the pound about 2 months, and to be honest, things weren't looking good. I'd already been to 6 or 7 adoption events without any takers. Not that I could really blame anybody. I know that if I was looking for a dog to take home, it wouldn't be a 4-year-old Dachshund with no balls and missing half an ear. Although back then I did have them, the balls, I mean, not the ear. So anyway, everyone knows you only get so many chances and then you're moved to death row. That day was my last chance. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was on a Sunday and almost closing time at the pet warehouse superstore where the adoptions were going on. The puppies were long gone, most of them finding new homes in the first couple hours. It was down to me, a Labradoodle named Frank, and a couple cats. Just when the people from the pound started talking about calling it a day, I saw her walking across the cages, towards the cages. Ashley was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She had short, curly brown hair that bounced when she walked, a smile that lit up the whole room, and best of all, she smelled like peanut butter cookies. God, she was stunning that day. She looked through the cages for a few minutes, her eyes shimmering as she smiled at me. I could barely believe it when she asked if she could hold me. The door was open to the cage, and I was placed into her soft, warm arms. Bruno Mars started to sing When I Was Your Man over the loudspeakers. I knew then I'd found the person I would spend forever with. That was just about 2 years ago, and things couldn't be better. We live on the north side of town in a nice 2-bedroom apartment. It doesn't have a backyard, but there's a dog park a few blocks away. Ashley and I try to go there at least 3 times a week. It's good exercise for her, you know. Moose, come on, buddy. It's time to go see the doctor. That was Ashley. I looked up to see her sliding her cell phone into her purse before reaching down to pick me up. Of course, I could have walked back to the vet's office, but she always likes to carry me in. It's the little things, you know, that show love. Right when we walked into exam room 4, I could tell something was off. Like I said, I'd been to the clinic for a while, and so I was accustomed to all the doctors and staff. The unfamiliar scent of flowers and donuts, though, filled the exam room, shocking my nose. That could only mean one thing: a new person. Moose, sweetie, calm down. It's going to be okay, Ashley murmured, tightening her grip and pulling me closer to her chest. I hadn't realized until that moment that I was starting to tremble. Ashley, I don't like this. We need to leave right now, I said between clenched teeth. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Humans don't understand animals the way we understand humans. I know that, and I've tried never to hold it against them. But I don't see any harm in talking to my people like they know what I'm saying. And sometimes I kind of think maybe they do. Hush, sweetie, what's gotten into you? Ashley set me down on that cold metal exam table and started to massage the area between my shoulders. It felt good, but it was going to take more than that to get my mind off the fact that at any second a stranger was going to walk through the door. As if on cue, the door opened. Good morning. This must be Moose. I'm Dr. Maxwell. By the way, I don't think we've met. I crouched down at the sound of the newcomer's voice in an attempt to get a good look at her. She looked fairly average in human terms, slightly taller than Ashley, her hair a dark shade of red. She wore a white coat that all the doctors did, and I couldn't help but notice that one hand was stuck in a front coat pocket. I didn't know what was in that pocket, but I wasn't taking any chances, so decided to keep my eyes on her. Good morning, Peyton. I felt Ashley straighten up abruptly and then go tense. It was obvious there was something about this new vet that had Ashley shaken up. That was enough for me. All right, Ashley, that is it. We're getting the hell out of here. You better stay right where you are, Dr. Maxwell, if that is your real name. I growled, baring my teeth to show the woman I meant business. It was one thing to try to hurt me, but there was no way I was going to let anything happen to my woman. Moose, stop that, Ashley Baldwin said, pulling back sharply on the snarling dog's leash. He glanced over her shoulder at her briefly before easing back down, positioning himself on the metal table so that he sat between Ashley and the vet. Moose lowered his growl to a faint rumble, but continued to keep his eyes trained on the woman in the white coat. Any other time, Ashley would have wondered what had gotten into her typically mild-mannered dog. But any other time, she wouldn't be standing 5 feet away from the ex-love of her life, Peyton Maxwell. Ashley, oh my gosh, I almost didn't recognize you. Ashley was breathless as she looked into the amber eyes that were staring back at her. Yeah, she said, finding her voice. It's you and here and wow, and I don't know what to say. Her lips curling up into a smile, Peyton jammed her both hands into her coat pocket. My God, how long has it been? 10, 11 years? 4,387 days, 12 hours, and 15 minutes, Ashley thought. But who's counting?
That's great.
That is great. All right.
All right. So, Ali, are you ready to read from your latest Fairytale Farm?
I think
Adorable
so.
book. I love it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm going to jump in a couple of chapters into the book just to give you a little background. Fairytale Farms is a retirement project for a semi-retired veterinarian and a soon-to-be retired school teacher. Hill McCall is the veterinarian, and she, as a secret project, has bought an old Tyson chicken farm that she has turned into Fairytale Farms as a sanctuary for unwanted, unadoptable animals from local shelters, and several things have happened. They were approached by a girls group home, and they've gotten some young ladies that have been volunteering for the farm and have just fallen in love with the animals and the whole principle of the farm. So I'm going to pick up here. He'll open the gate with the remote and drove the parking lot. Lou waved at her from the fire pit. There was a slight chill in the air when she stepped out of her truck, but she knew the sun would soon be out quickly to warm things up. Jess was holding a black cat in her arms when Hill arrived. Who is this? Jess shrugged. I guess the word has gotten out about us and someone dropped her sometime last night. She was curled up in front of the door this morning. She's about to become a mama, too. Let's give her a name. Let's give her an exam, and then you can introduce her to her new home. We have plenty of room to separate her from the others until the kittens arrive. She followed Jess into the exam room. Yep, definitely pregnant. The kittens are active, so she may not be far from giving birth. She is young and healthy, so I don't foresee any problems. This is probably her first litter. Once she gives birth, I will spay her to prevent other pregnancies. Have you thought of a name yet? No. Any suggestions? Jess asked. She's as black as coal. Let's call her Cold Kitty. I hope that doesn't bring my Cold Kitty around. That sounds good to me, Jess grinned and picked up Cole. Let's get you some food and settled into your new home, Cold Kitty. Hill entered her office and looked at the list of things to do today. The picnic tables and water coolers would be delivered today, and she expected Dan to bring more animals from the shelter. The girls would be here to volunteer, and she needed to plan the cookout on Saturday. Yep, it's going to be a busy day. Hill left the office to check on Jax. She was surprised to find Laura holding him as he covered her in kisses. She checked her watch. It was barely 8. Anita looked up and smiled as Hill approached. I hope you don't mind the girls coming early. They've been pacing the house since 7. Hill chuckled. They're welcome any time. Girls, put your lunches in the refrigerator and we can get to work. They have plans for each of them to bring a side or dessert for Saturday. Are you sure that's all they need to bring? Anita asked. That should be more than plenty, Hill answered. I'll see you at 4 then, Anita said. Have a great day. Hill turned around to find that Haley had stopped to visit with Rex. She was shocked that he was licking her fingers through the chain link fencing. The super aggressive dog that had arrived last week was starting to show signs of progress. Rex shied away when one of the twins rushed past. One of the twins, Laura, she thought, approached her. I have someone new for you to meet. We had a beautiful black cat we named Cole find her way here this morning. She's pregnant and will have her kitten soon. I'm sure she would enjoy some loving and everyone else is fed. After everyone else is fed. That's right up my alley, Laura smiled. Maggie walked over to Hill. Where's Toby? She asked, frowning. Hill hadn't thought about how attached the girls would get to the animals. She smiled to comfort her. Toby has a new home. Lou and Betsy have adopted him as a travel companion. I'm sure they won't mind if you visit with him and play ball. Maggie nodded, but Hill could, but Hill could see that she was disappointed. Toby will have a great life with them and be treated like a prince. That's a win for Toby and for the farm. To find a happy ever after for the animal. Sorry, guys. Maggie wiped her eyes. I know, but I will miss him. I will too, but many more animals need your love and care. We have new animals coming out today that would love to play with you. Terry is also adopting a cat, Sasha, who looks like a cat that she had for many years. Do you think that will happen often? That campers will adopt? Maggie asked. It's nothing we plan for, but if a camper and an animal are a good match, we will make the adoption happen, Hill explained. She placed her hand on Maggie's shoulder. We need to be happy for them. I am, Maggie said, but Hill could hear the sadness in her voice. Go on. Go see what Jess has planned for you this morning. I'm going to need some of your muscle later for this morning. For what? Maggie asked. We have 6 picnic tables being delivered today. I will need some muscle to get them placed. Why so many? 3 for the campground, 2 for here, and 1 for the lake. It may be nice to have lunch by the water some days. I know a black lab who loves playing in the lake. Really, Maggie said. He will retrieve a ball that you throw into the lake. Be warned, though, you will get wet, Hill teased. Can I take him out later? After lunch, when we have the table set up, I'll go with you, Hill promised. Thanks, Doc, Maggie said, and searched for Jess. Hill walked over to Haley. Rexer's responding well to you. He wants to be a good boy, Haley said. He's feeling more at home here. That's good to hear. Keep up the excellent work, Hill handed Haley several treats and left the compound. She walked over to the campground to talk with Lou and Betsy. Good morning, Lou said. It looks like the crew showed up early today. They were excited, Hill said, reaching down to pet Toby. Betsy emerged from the camper. Morning, Doc. Would you like some coffee? I'm good, thanks, Betsy. I wanted to ask you and Lou something, she said, sitting beside Lou. What's up, Lou said. I didn't think about the girls getting attached to the animals so quickly. Maggie was sad when she couldn't find Toby this morning. I explained to her how happy he was to get adopted, which is one of our goals for the farm. What can we do to help? Betsy asked. He's such a sweet boy. I can see why she would miss him. Would you mind if she came down and played fetch with him for a while this week, as she can see how happy he is? Betsy smiled at Hill. I can do you one better. I can take pictures of them together that you can give to her. You know what else, honey? Lou asked. Betsy and Hill waited for her to continue. We can take pictures of our adventures and send them to Hill to share with Maggie. Would it be okay to mail them here? Hill smiled. I love that idea. Of course you can send them here. Maggie would be tickled, and I'll keep it a secret until the first mail arrives. We'll be at the beach next week, so that will be our first stop, Betsy said. Perfect, Hill said. Thanks. I'll let her know it's okay to come down later. Anytime, Doc. Hill heard a vehicle approach. Our water coolers have arrived, Alice. Alice is right behind them. She went to pick up the business cards and the postcards to share with y'all and Terry. Awesome, Betsy said. We also have a load of picnic tables being delivered. 3 will be placed around here, so think of where you would like one, Hill said. I can help you move them, Lou offered. Are you kidding? I have plenty of young muscle for that, Hill smiled.
It's a heartwarming story. It's a wonderful story. So let's get into the questions. Okay. We know how queer women love their pets. While many Sapphic novels include pets in their stories, both of you've taken it to the next level. Tell us what inspired you to create these stories. Lila, you want to start off?
Sure. So Love Bites is a semi-true story. So I was at lunch one day with a friend of mine, and she is a girl that I used to work with, and she had a Dachshund named Moose, who they had rescued.
Okay.
And she had a new boyfriend, and Moose did not like the boyfriend, and she was telling me as things were heating up, he would get more and more aggressive and was attacking the boyfriend. So, things like that. So she had said how jealous he was of her, and that just kind of sparked an idea. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
How about you? Because I know that you've had books before, Ali, that have had pets, but not to this degree. So what?
Yeah. I mean, just about every one of my books has some kind of an animal,
Mhm.
cat, dog, whatever. Goat.
Yeah.
The inspiration for this came from a Facebook posting that I had been following for quite some time about a small black cat named Ray Ray, and the 2 women that had adopted him when he was severely injured and nursed him back to health. And it just got me to thinking about, how many of our folks in our community rescue animals and, give them a good loving home. They take on pets that, have medical issues or, don't have a real strong chance of getting adopted in a shelter. So I thought, this would be a really good plot for a story. So that's how Fairytale Farm came about.
Okay, so I know you both have multiple pets. Of course, not Lila. We know you have 9 cats. How come you chose it? So, I mean, coming from the crazy cat lady here, how come you chose to feature, not that dogs are bad or anything, but how come you chose to feature dogs instead of cats? Do we, maybe can we get a future Love Bites 2 where cats are the,
I think we could probably do that. Yeah, this particular story, just because of the back, where the idea for it came from the dog. At the time, I had a couple basset hounds, so there's some basset hound characters
okay.
in the
Yeah,
story.
yeah. I remember the Basset Hound. Yeah.
Yeah, who were inspired by my dogs. But it was one of those stories that just lended itself more to dogs
Dogs
and
versus
cats.
cats.
Yeah.
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 Well, yeah, and and Allie, you had some, I mean, where's the love for the cats? You had some special dogs in there that you featured. So what about, some a sequel with some special cats featured next
Um,
time?
there would definitely be more cats in the next one, I think. One of the things we asked for photographs of people's pets as part of this project for the
Yeah,
cover and the inside of the book.
yeah.
And I got so many stories from readers that, the stories of the animals that they've rescued. And it's just like, it was so inspirational. It's like, let me start writing the next book, based on some of their, I mean, even a llama.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's just like, wow, I would never, where in hell would I put a llama? But I love animals, and I could very easily, see a second book coming out. And I think there's characters within the book that definitely deserve a second story. The kids for sure. Jess becoming a vet, and Haley becoming a psychologist, and the twins. Hopefully they'll find a loving home in the future. So I think there could easily be a second book.
Good. Very good. So, now I know that Allie's book features a lot of animals, but Lila, your book actually has, as you're reading, has the dog's point of view, where the dog, where you're seeing through the whole story through the dog's eyes. And
Mhm.
I mean, the minute that I read that, I thought, man, that is a brilliant thing to do. And since then, I've actually written a couple of books that have the cat's point of view. But how did you come up with like writing a book that has a dog POV or 2 dogs POV? Because the other one
Yeah.
is the
Yeah, there's
is
a couple dogs in there.
fierce.
Yeah, I guess it was just when I thought about it, beginning a new book, you always kind of think about the characters, and because the dog coming between, or having some idea of, he was like in between the vet and the teacher character.
Mhm.
Um, he just kind of had his own voice, and it kept talking to me when I was thinking of the story, and so I decided, to go ahead and let him, tell it, so to speak. So.
It was absolutely brilliant because you often see things where we imagine what the cat or dog's POV is, but I don't think there's very many books out there that actually give you that perspective, which is it's unique. You remember it.
Yeah.
Any chance you'll ever give a dog or a cat their own point of view in a future book, Allie?
Oh, that's always a strong possibility.
Yeah, good. I'll look forward to reading that. All right. So, Lila, now we're going to get into the sort of general kinds of questions. Tell us about your writing experience from start to finish, and what's the most challenging part of writing a novel for you?
Sometimes it's just getting it all together. So, you have an idea for a story, and it's deciding, what's going to happen along the way to some point, of what I want to have happen, and then what the characters' voices are. Who are the characters? What do they do? It's just getting all those pieces together, and then and then finding the time. Sometimes, because I still work full time, finding the time to sit down, and just where the whole world is not around me, to sit down and just write that.
Yeah.
once I get going, you know, and can get it together, and then it'll flow. But it's just that first piece sometimes it's the hardest.
Do you have any like rituals?
I like to have music playing in the background, which is random. I know some people like silence, but I have to have something playing, you know, in the
Yeah.
background, some sort of music, just to kind of help my mind not, I guess, wander a little bit as I'm going through.
Yeah.
Um, and then I try to lock the cats out of the room when I'm doing it, because you know how the cats are. They like to get on the keyboard and then go walk around the
Yep.
back of the computer
Yep.
and do 1,000 different things.
Yep.
You know, so there's that. But that's probably the biggest one. Just, you know, being alone, which is a challenge sometimes, and then you know, just the music.
And they don't cry at the door, because mine
Of
would
course they
be.
do. You know, they beat
Yeah.
the door. They put the little hand underneath.
Yeah.
Do
Shake it.
everything they
Yeah.
can to let you know they are not happy. You
Yeah.
know, but yeah.
How
Yeah.
about you? Do you have any rituals, Ali?
Typically, when I start thinking about a story, the title usually comes first.
Mm.
And then as the characters start building, you know, it just seems to start to roll. And, you know, sometimes I'll binge write and, you know, write a whole Saturday afternoon away, or, you know, try to write at lunchtime, you know, during work hours, and, you know, during doing things like that. No particular rituals. You know, I do like listening to music. It helps, I think, keeps a rhythm going.
Mhm.
Uh, when I first started writing, I would listen too much to the music, and I find myself typing the lyrics, and it's like, no, 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 you gotta get away from that. But you know, just letting the story flow, and you know, my hardest part sometimes is where to stop. You know, sometimes I feel like I could write forever, and, you know, it wouldn't be long enough. But, you know, finding that perfect stopping point that makes sense in the story, but, you know, maybe also leave open a gap for a potential follow-up book.
What kinds of conflicts and complications are your favorite to write about, Lila?
I like a good enemies to lovers story.
Is that your favorite?
That's my favorite. That's always my favorite. Um,
And
couple,
what is it about it that makes it your favorite?
I guess it's just that, you know, that tension, you know, when you've got the two characters who are, you know, enemies, you know, are at odds. And then I think that kind of brings its own passion to the relationship. And then seeing that finally kind of come together in explosion, you know, to bring them together. So I think that's my favorite trope.
Yeah, Love Bites wasn't, well, it was sort of, but it was because they used to be together.
They used to be
Yeah.
together. They had this huge breakup way
Yeah.
back when, and now, you know, the Peyton character is back, and
So
you
it's
know,
a version of
the
enemies.
version of it. Yeah.
Version of enemies.
Yeah.
How about you? How about you, Allie? What's your favorite?
You know me, I don't like conflict. I like to, you know, I'm fairly a low angst writer,
Yes. Yeah.
and, you know, I put more emphasis on the emotional stuff, like the dog Rex coming in, you know, muzzled, extremely aggressive,
Yeah.
very angry, and how the love of Haley, Hill, and Jess really helped him turn his life around, and how they were able to find out what the source or the trigger of his anger. You know, Toby being adopted.
Yeah.
You know, the emotional part of it is something that I enjoy writing.
Yeah. 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 You do a good job with that too. Okay. Research. Are you a big researcher, Lila, or do you mostly write from experiences?
A little bit of both. I mean, I have had sometimes when I research, like in Falling Slowly, one of my first books, I had a character who was a pilot. So a friend of a friend flew small planes. So I asked him like a series of questions about how you start a plane, like if you're going to start the flight, what would you do, and kind of the checklist and things. And then just to kind of make it feel more real. But then I told that part of the story for the other character who wasn't a pilot. So if there was something that wasn't exactly right, I wouldn't get eaten up. And the current book I'm writing, I've been looking a lot of morgue information and how that works. But some books, it just depends on, what's happening. Some things are just, relationships and how things feel. But if there's any particulars, I like to try to at least get them close to being right.
And I know, Ali, you do research for books for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how much of your own personal experiences or your personality, like, do you ever write characters that are partly like you? Or do you try to stay away from that?
For me, I would say there's a little bit of me somewhere in the characters. There's definitely always one or two characters that are just based off people that I have run into or know, or my mother always jokes that she sees herself in every book because there's always that older character,
Right.
Yeah.
but yeah, sometimes there's a little bit in there, maybe not 100%, maybe just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Ali?
Yeah, definitely. I related very well to Hill, the veterinarian, because that's what I wanted to be when I was a kid growing up, because I loved animals so well.
Yeah,
And then Maggie, the young softball player,
right. Yeah, I
I
was
felt
gonna
some
say, I
kinship
bet
with her as well.
yeah. Yeah, your new story, which you'll probably talk about in upcoming books or works in progress or whatever on the basketball player. I bet there was some stuff that you pulled from your own personal on
Oh
that
yeah.
one. Yeah. I like that story. I love that story, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So that brings us to current work in progress. Now you mentioned something about a morgue. So what are you writing about? Are you doing a mystery, a
Kind of a mystery.
crime?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of it's more of like, I've never written this type before, but it has turned into kind of like a weird urban fantasy-ish, So it's got vampires, and it's got a police detective, and a morgue. I don't know, what, a medical assistant involved, and so it's a little bit of a departure from what a darker maybe than what I've usually written. But that's kind of how I feel these days with the whole world being what it is.
Yes.
So I think that has kind of lended it, following on the pages. But yeah, there's hopefully I'll have it out by the end of this year. I've been kind of piddling
Oh,
on it here recently, and then I hurt my wrist a while back, so I'm still battling with that to kind of get it out.
so what's the title?
After Dark is the
Yeah.
current title. If I don't just change it between now and then, but that's what I'm leaning towards. And it's set in Atlanta, which is, I live just north of Atlanta currently, so it's set in Atlanta. And we talk about in Atlanta they have the underground, which is like a shopping and nightclub district, and so here we're going to have, like, kind of a play on that, a different kind of underground where there's a
Ah,
natural elements.
cool. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I really like you. How many books do you have? 8, 9?
Yeah, 7 or 8. I've been on this, I don't know what the right word is here recently, kick of like short stories and things. So I've got
Uh-huh.
several short stories and some different anthologies, and then, but yeah, I've got about 7 or 8, novels, novellas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
And what's your, I mean, I know what's coming out. You've got your basketball story that's coming out in what,
July.
July.
Yeah.
But are you actually currently writing anything?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's
Uh,
true.
I've got a couple of books that are in various stages of being finished, and once I get a ability to type again, I hope to get back to writing. Got a couple of different things. Some, like Lila, is a little bit different than what I've written in the past, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh, what is it? Tell, come on, give us a little more than a little
Well,
different.
two of them are follow-ups. Like there'll be a third cowgirl book,
Okay, good.
and then a follow-up to the blank white page
Okay,
to
good.
continue on, and then a third one is based on a bison farm in Montana. And a young woman goes through a divorce, and she moves back home with her mom and dad, and uh, is working on the farm with them. And she runs across mysterious bones and finds out that they've actually got a bone bed for dinosaurs. So she gets involved in that and uh, gets involved with a assistant to a paleontologist dig, and they start doing the dig there at the farm slash ranch, and that's where the romance part comes in. So it's a little different.
Okay, good. I'll look forward to reading that.
Yeah.
All right, so pantser or plotter, Lila?
I'm somewhere in the middle. I need to know my plot. I need to know the ending. But then the story kind of finds its, I'll just sit down and write it along the way as long as I have that, basic frame. But I don't need to know every word before I put it down.
And we know that pantser,
Total pantster.
total pantster. Yep.
And I may start off in one direction and do a complete 360 and go all over the place, but
Yep, me
I've
too.
tried plotting it out before, and it just doesn't work for me.
I know. It's amazing that we can write together since we're
Yeah.
both pastors.
We just let our characters take us where they want to go.
We do. We do. But sometimes it's interesting because you'll go in a direction, I'll go, okay, I got to go with her. And then I'll go in another direction. And Allie's like, okay, I'll go there with her. All right. What else would you like to share with folks out there to let them know about your works or anything else that you would like folks to know, Lila?
Oh, wow. That is a good question. Well, I'm working on a new book. I've got the others, and they're all on Amazon. I do the Kindle Unlimited currently. And you can check it out.
You're independent, right? You're not with a publisher?
Oh, yeah. I'm independent. I do my own books, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, good. And they're all on Kindle Unlimited. Okay.
They're all on Kindle Unlimited, and there's actually like there's a follow-up to Love Bites. I did a little Christmas story in an anthology, and I expanded that a little bit and made it its own book and put it out several years ago. So that's out there too. Easier said than done, I think is the I had to remember.
Yeah, I think I read that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they're all on Kindle Unlimited. Various sizes and prices depending on how big it is. But yeah, they're there to check out.
Good. Great. And Allie, you have how many books do you have out?
A lot.
I think
Over 40. I know that.
yeah, over 40, like maybe 43, 44. I don't know. And I just want to say, I appreciate everybody's support, and we're going through a hard time right now with sales, with all the boycotts and everything. So we really appreciate your continued support, and hope you enjoy the story.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a great book.
It's a very emotional story, a fun one to write, but hard in some places.
Mhm.
But I'm very proud of it, and I really appreciate everybody who pitched in the photographs to make it a special book. So, thank you.
Heartwarming. It's a heartwarming story. Yes, I highly recommend both. I have read both, loved both. So if you love cats, dogs, pets, you're gonna love both of these books. So next month actually it's gonna be in June because Moi is going to be in Mexico for the greater part of May, so we couldn't fit in a time in May to have a podcast. But in June, we are going to have a brand new author who wrote To Autumn, Katie Hall, and so our topic is going to be old and new. I'm the old, literally old, and she's the new, young, and she wrote young adult, and so we're gonna talk about old and new experiences next month. So hopefully you catch us there.
Yeah.
So don't forget to check out our YouTube channel and subscribe. And thank you very much.